What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. And this is your boy Mon, and you're about to get chin checked. But before I get into this video, first I want you to do, man, is I want you to like, subscribe, comment, and hit that notification bell, man. We've been going now for about 9 months. The channel's been growing great, man, but we need more support. So, man, if you're watching and you like what you see, just subscribe, man. Just hit the subscribe button for us. Thank you. Let us get into the video, man. There's been a lot of talk going on right now between Errol Spence and Terrance Crawford right now. And before I get into breaking down what's going on between these two fighters, the first thing I want to do is give you the timeline over the last 2 or 3 weeks of what's been going on. So first of all, Terrance Crawford just had a fight against Shawn Porter. He looked great against Shawn Porter. He stopped Shawn Porter in the 11th round, I believe, where Shawn Porter daddy threw in the towel. It was a great performance by Crawford. He proved to the world, or anybody that had any doubts, that he is an elite fighter, because up until this point, it was always questions about his resume, but he proved that he's pound for pound, top 2, 3, number 1 in the world, no doubt. After that fight happened, Terrance Crawford got out his contract with Bob Arum, and it seems to be, talking a little bit more. I think the problem between him and Bob Arum, for the most part, was because Terrance Crawford believed in just fighting and letting Bob promote the fight and let his hands do the talking in the ring. And I kind of like that. But to be honest, as a black fighter in boxing, you kind of got to have a personality. You got to talk it for yourself, and you got to promote yourself to be a big-time fighter as far as being a prize fighter and making the money and bringing that audience to tune in to you. And that's one thing Terrance Crawford didn't care for, and I think that's why him and Bob Arum bumped heads, because he wanted a certain amount of money, and Bob Arum, according to him, was losing money because he was paying Terrance Crawford too much money, because Terrance Crawford felt like, I'm one of the best fighters in the world, I want this kind of money, and Bob saying, your numbers is not showing it, I'm overpaying you, I could have bought a house in Malibu for what I lost on you, up until this day. So he leaves Bob Arum because Bob Arum couldn't get him the fight he wanted, which was Errol Spence. But one thing I can say, Terrance Crawford seemed to learn from his mistakes very quickly, because now he's become more vocal. He's promoting himself more. He's had a couple Twitter posts directed towards Errol Spence. One was pretty much saying about him fighting him. Another one was about him being on the beach and saying, I'm looking for the big fish, where you at? And then he had his last one where he talked about the IBF. He wanted him to make him the mandatory for Errol Spence to fight him for his belt, to almost trying to say he was forcing Errol Spence into the fight. So yesterday, Errol Spence finally responded on his Instagram, and pretty much said that, so we live in a social media era where being quiet is taken for weakness. And that pretty much he said, line them up with bowling pins. He had a middle finger up, and he had a big fish up there. And he showed pictures and let people know that, hey, I'm training, I'm working out, I'm right. I'm not just sitting around here on my ass, not doing anything. I'm preparing. And if you think I'm just sitting around here not doing nothing while he talking, he's sadly mistaken. So for me and for us boxing fans, we're starting to get excited because we're thinking that this fight is getting closer and closer to being made. Now, what I got from this is we just got a post recently from Terrance Crawford that said that he don't think that fight gonna get made between him and Errol Spence, and that he's not taking a 40-60 split. And what I got out of that is, after him talking so much, Errol Spence and his team must have contacted Terrance Crawford to let them know, a rough draft of what it would take to get the deal done. It could have been Al Heyman, could have been a manager, could have been Errol Spence himself contacted Crawford. And he probably told him it's going to take a 40-60 split, which Terrance Crawford came back and said and he came back to the public and said he's not taking a 40-60 split. Now, getting to the part of this video that I want to talk to you about, how do I feel about this? We got to understand, we can't be biased in this situation. A lot of times people get confused about how to determine a split in boxing. A split in boxing is not determined by your accolades. It's not determined by your belts. is not determined by how many weight classes you've been in. Your split as far as money is determined by how much money you generate. So a lot of people are still confused. So I'm gonna give you a quick breakdown. So Errol Spence's first pay-per-view was against Mikey Garcia. He had it in Cowboy Stadium. 50,000 people were at that event. He did 360,000 pay-per-view buys, which brought in $28.8 million for the pay-per-view buys. I'm not even going to get into the gates. If you want to say that Gates is even though Spence is bigger on the gate side, I'm going to stick with the pay-per-view buys. His second pay-per-view was Porter. He did 325,000, which brought in $26 million. His third pay-per-view, Danny Garcia, they said it did between 250 and I think 285,000. We're gonna go with the low number. We're gonna go with 250,000, which would be 20 million in revenue. Those three pay-per-views combined came out to 74.8 million. So right at 75 million that he's generated in revenue from his pay-per-view buys. Now let's go to Terrance Crawford. Terrance Crawford's first pay-per-view was 75,000, Victor Postal. That generated $6 million. His second pay-per-view buys was Amir Khan, 125,000, which generated $10 million. And his third pay-per-view buys was between 135,000 and 190,000 for Porter. So I went in the middle, and it generated $13 million. His three equaled out to $29 million. So in his three pay-per-views, he's brought in $29 million. Errol Spence has brought in $75 million. If you want to do the math on that, if you want to take Terrance Crawford to $30 million, that's a $45 million difference in their pay-per-view buys. Just off pay-per-view alone, he's averaging $15 million more dollars generated on pay-per-view buys. So when people bring up belts and accolades, that's great. And for his legacy, for his Hall of Fame, all that stuff is going to be put in account. And when people take a A or B side, don't mean that Errol Spence is better than Terrance Crawford. Terrance Crawford might whoop Errol Spence's ass. He could beat his ass, but that don't change the fact that in this first fight, Errol Spence is the bigger draw, so he deserves the bigger split. Now, if Errol Spence decides to give Terrance Crawford 50-50, and they can work on that and say, we just go 50-50, great. But he's not obligated to do that. A lot of people rebuttal is, well, it's the biggest fight. It's the biggest fight they can make. It's the biggest fight. It's the most money they can make. They need each other. But that's the same thing for Terrance Crawford. It's the biggest fight he can make. So because it's the biggest fight they can make, Errol Spence is supposed to give up a piece of his pie that he's earned, that he's generated through. He can show the numbers that he's a bigger draw, and I'm supposed to give you 50-50 because it's the biggest fight we can make. You know, it just don't make sense. I mean, you can say the same thing for Terrance Crawford, or let him take a lesser split because it's the biggest fight he can make. And then another thing, like I said, people say is the accolades and belts in the division, but they don't generate money. It makes your accomplishments and your legacy bigger, but it doesn't generate money. If I give you an example, if Beyonce goes to a arena and says, I want $1 million flat fee to perform a concert one night, one show. And she says that I can pit 20,000 people in an arena at $300 a pop, which is $6 million. And if she can show that, she'll probably get that $1 million for that one concert. But Beyonce can't come in the concert and say, hey, I got Grammys. I got the MTV Awards. I got the BET Awards. I got this. I was considered the best singer of this. I got this award. I should get $1 million for a concert because I got a Grammy. They gonna say, I don't give a damn. What do you generate as far as your revenue? So I'm just trying to figure it out, man. But to me, I hope both of these guys can figure it out, man, because this is the biggest fight in boxing. I think that Terrance Crawford needs to come off his pride a little bit because I think he has the HNIC. He has the head Negro in charge syndrome. And that means that he feel like by giving, I guess, Spence the bigger cut, he's saying that he's better, or it's a pride thing rather than, just giving the man what he's due. I mean, if you win that fight, then it can the split will probably be bigger your way because you become the star. I mean, all these guys went through this. Mayweather went through it with Oscar De La Hoya. Even with Gotti got a bigger cut than Mayweather did in that fight. Even though he was way better fighter than Gotti and beat the shit out of him. He had to get Gotti more money because he had to build, had to build his fan base up, all these other guys until he became a megastar. So I mean, I don't understand it because he was willing to take an 80-20 split with Pacquiao. He gave Amir Khan $7 million, and I think he got $3 or $4 million. But when it comes to Errol Spence, you won't get him 60-40? I don't understand that. Now, like I said, I don't like the politics of talking about the money and stuff, but I'm tired of people talking about it. So I said I'll do a short video breaking down to the reason why the 60-40 split is actually a pretty good split between these two guys. Like I said, and people like to do that, how about they do 45-45 or 40-40 and the winner takes 20%? When have you ever seen a contract in boxing written up where somebody did a 40-40 split with the winner take 20%? That don't even exist in boxing. So to come up with these stupid ass scenarios on how you can break a split up rather than just look at the numbers and just do it fair. Let's be fair and stop being biased about who we like. Like I said, you can like Terrance Crawford. I like Terrance Crawford a lot, but the whole point of this video is to say the reason why Errol Spence is a bigger draw than Terrance Crawford is because of Bud Crawford fans. And the best sad thing about it, 50% of his fans are loyal fans that support Bud Crawford. They go to his fights. They order his pay-per-views. My main man, Jay, he's a big Terrance Crawford fan, and I know he supports Terrance Crawford. But a lot of you guys are just Errol Spence and PBC haters, and don't really support the man. And it shows in his pay-per-view bags. Because if y'all was really behind him like that, when that man have a pay-per-view, go buy it. When he has a fight, go watch him fight. Stop streaming his stuff, because then when it comes to the bargaining table to try to make a even split with Spence, he don't have the numbers to back up his argument because of you. So the reason why a 60-40 split is fair is not because of his skills in the ring. It's because of you fair weather fans that's more worried about being a hater and counting pockets and streaming events instead of supporting the fighter that you say that you like so much. So man, let's just change it up, man, and keep that in mind for future references, man. And I hope this fight can get made. I don't care if Errol Spence decided to give Terrance Crawford 70%, he take 30%. If he want to do that, great. But if you ask me based on just being fair, I'm just telling you the numbers, man. And you can take it for what you want to take it. Man, thank y'all for tuning in, man. God, peace, and love. Y'all be blessed. And remember to like, subscribe, hit the notification button, comment, and I'm out of here.